Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the 9 Acres. We have farming videos, cooking videos, livestock videos, and overall just share our children, our grandchild, and our life with you. We have a lot of fun on the 9 Acres. We enjoy you to stop by, sit down, have a cup of coffee, and enjoy our visit. Hello, everyone, and welcome in. I want to welcome in my guest, who I'm also a guest for her, but I'm Dale at 9 Acre Family Farms, and with me is Ginger from Not For Nothing Homestead.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So,
And
yes,
we decided that we were going to join forces for this recording. We are trying something new here. We're going to try
yes,
recording this in 2 different locations, being that we're in 2 separate places in the United States. Of course, I'm in Kansas, and Ginger, you are where?
North Georgia.
North Georgia.
North Georgia,
So,
yeah.
but y'all, even though we are in 2 different places, we both are kind of going through the same thing right now. And we think it's very important for homesteaders to, especially new homesteaders, right, Ginger, to
Yes,
understand
yes.
what we have to do to prepare ourselves for the inevitable, which is cold weather in the winter.
Mhm. And you know what,
As-
Dale, I'm gonna be honest with you, that's been my drawback from pulling the trigger on getting pigs, getting chickens. That was my initial drawback was, how am I gonna do this? Because we are off grid.
Yeah, and a
So,
lot of people
how
are
am I
not,
gonna
so they just quickly do it, right?
Yeah,
Or
they can figure it out, or you have to prep if like in your case, you've got them far away from the house.
yeah, well, and then I think you're also exposing something that a lot of people don't really take in consideration when they jump off that diving board into livestock on the homestead, and that's yeah, I have to keep them when it's 15 degrees outside, and every bit of water I pour out within 15 minutes is going to be froze. Or
Yes.
how do I keep them warm in the winter? It's not like I can bring
Mhm.
them in my house, you know?
Yeah, I
Um,
don't think I want 20 chickens in here in my
no,
kitchen.
I mean, you don't want 20 chickens in your house. You don't want 3 200-pound plus pigs in your house.
No.
God forbid if you had a 1,000-pound steer that you were feeding out for
Oh,
freezer camp.
yes.
What would you
Yes.
do there, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't take that in consideration, right? Um,
Yes, and I think that's really where I was trying to look out for the animal and not trying to be a selfish person, even though I wanted eggs desperately, I wanted chickens desperately. I was really not I just kept thinking, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. So we're figuring it out. And this year, I didn't get little baby chicks, and now my chickens are bigger, so they're able to sustain their own body heat a little bit better. But we're gonna have to help all of our animals. So I guess we're gonna go over that as well, right?
yeah, well, yeah. So I'm thinking that Ginger and I've been talking. We think that this could be a 2 or 3-part series about it, or
Yes.
possibly more, depends on how we get
Mhm.
along. Um,
Yeah.
but I think we should start off with a little bit of history. Um, let's talk about you, Ginger, and you guys. How long, for one, have you been homesteading?
We moved to this particular homestead about 6, 7 years ago. Before
7.
that, we were in the city, and we had gardens and, dogs, but no farm animals before that. So,
So that you were urban steading or
yes, I
suburban
was
steading?
urban setting. Yes,
Yeah.
I had gardens and plants everywhere, and I drove Joey insane with them, but yes.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that because to me that makes a progression to what you're doing now, right?
Yes, baby
When you take
steps.
like a lot of my and let's not kid ourselves. People that follow Ginger and Joey at Not for Nothing, you guys already probably know that story. And for the viewers or the listeners of Not for Nothing, for 9 acres, I grew up farming, but the Nana and I, or Lisa and I, we have been basically homesteading since we got together, um, because we live in the middle of nowhere. I mean, literally,
Yeah,
and 23 years worth now. And I come from farming before that, of course, on a bigger scale. So
and
we
Nana
had to
too,
learn some
right?
things. Nana, she did not. She grew
No?
up more like you, like what you were talking about. So
Yeah.
basically in town, in the edge of town, just barely on the outskirts of a town.
Mhm.
So and didn't spend a lot of time in that kind of stuff. Now, I think it's perfect what you were talking about thinking of the animals and stuff like that, because
Yeah.
I can go back and thumb back into like Nana and I, we at one time we raised show goats, like all these big goat herd,
Mhm.
and we were having baby goats.
I didn't know that,
And
Dale. I thought it was just show pigs.
no, we
That's
we actually raised boar cross show goats, and we had probably 25 nannies, a
wow.
couple bucks, um, and we did it with not very good infrastructure.
Yeah.
So that's something that you have to keep in mind when you start talking about winterizing, right? And getting ready for the winter for livestock. And so it's a sad story, but I at that time I was traveling for work, and I actually drove an hour and a half away to get to the airport, and the
Mm,
weather was cooler but not cold when I
yeah.
left. And I'm at the airport like an hour ahead of time, like they tell you, because I follow the rules, get there an
Yes.
hour ahead of time. And I'm
Yeah.
sitting there in the airport getting ready, within like 20 minutes of boarding the plane, and my phone goes off, and it is a very panicked Lisa. Um,
Mm.
we had babies that were starting to hatch from nanas, from nannies.
Oh,
Um, they
oh
were
my
giving birth
gosh.
to little kids, and
Ah,
a freak snowstorm had come in that 2 hours worth of time. So there
oh
was
my goodness.
actively snow falling on the ground, covering the ground. Yeah, we ended up with almost a foot of snow total. And we
Oh
had
my god.
nowhere, we only had one place that we'd set up for a kidding
Mhm.
jug, they call it, for a nice
Yeah.
warm area for this to happen. Well, this
Mhm.
freak storm, we had 10 nannies that were supposed to kid. Excuse me, sorry.
No,
And
not a problem. This is so
all 10 of
interesting because I never knew this about you, Dale.
all 10 of them decided to start kidding at the same time.
Oh my
So
heavens.
I am helpless. I am unhelpful because I am getting on an airplane to fly across the country. And
Yeah.
Lisa and the kids are actively setting up tarps, trying to find spots in barns to set these mamas and new babies up. And the sad part of the story, and probably why we don't talk about it much, is we ended up losing all but like two of the babies, and all the mamas had
Oh.
twins.
Whoa.
Um, yes. So
Mm.
it was not
But
only was that absolutely sad and
yes.
heartbreaking,
Yes.
but financially, we were selling them after weaning. By the time they were 25 to 30 pounds, for anywhere right under $1,000 a piece.
Wow.
So financially, we took a big hit over it. And
Oh my
ultimately, that's
god.
also why we quit being in the business, because we decided we didn't have the infrastructure. And at that time where we lived at, there was no possible way to put up the infrastructure that we needed because we didn't own the
Mm,
place, you know.
yeah.
But it's a really good story to tell people that are wanting to get into livestock like yourself,
Yes.
or
It's a
have just got
definitely a
into it.
learning.
Yes. So
Yeah.
what what kind of started this conversation between us, um, for our listeners and our viewers is, Ginger has made no qualms about it that I am her pig guru.
Guru.
When Ginger and Joey decided to get into pigs, I was an
Yes.
encourager. You need
Yes.
to get pigs, get into pigs. Well, we don't know
Mhm.
about pigs. Well, you know my phone number. Give me a call.
Yes.
I will help you. Well,
Yes.
that conversation has led us to today, right, Ginger?
Yes, it has. Because how many times have I used those digits, Dale? Not everybody
Several
has
times.
Dale. Yeah, no, not everybody out there has Dale on speed dial. I am
No.
very fortunate that I have someone on speed dial that I can say, what do I do? Or how can I solve this problem? Or what are your thoughts that would make this easier on us? And, and he always has the answer, but you have a huge background in pigs and show pigs as well as goats.
Yes. So I grew up around pigs, and then we spent our kids started showing pigs, and we spent probably 18 years showing pigs.
I
So,
think that's so
um
awesome.
and I did before when I was a kid, and kind of, I got away from it for years and then got back into it. But,
Yeah.
we used to keep, because some of our shows were in the winter and early spring, so we had to keep them during the winter and stuff like that.
Mm.
And that really helped us figure out some things. And I think that you just brought up a really good point that a lot of people don't also take into consideration. So here's you guys another point, is if you're talking about getting livestock on your homestead, you need to find a mentor. Now that mentor can
Yeah.
be someone here on YouTube or on a podcast, or it could be a book. You need to find
Mhm.
a mentor, though, someone that can help you on those bridges. But there's nothing beats someone with that already has experience there, right?
Oh gosh.
I mean, if
Absolutely
if
100.
Nana and I have questions, if Lisa and I have questions, yeah, sorry. If Lisa and I have questions, we're going to dial Ginger up when it's about gardening, when it's about loofahs, when it's about stuff like that, because she knows it inside and out, you know? So she's our
And
mentor. So
I
we
have
do a
a lot
little
of
exchange there, right?
yes, I have some heartbreaking loofah and heartbreaking gardening stories too that I've learned at the school of hard knocks, and
Yep,
I you appreciate them and you keep them in the forefront of your mind. Those lessons are always there when you learn them that way. You'll
that's
never
exactly
forget
right.
them. Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm not trying to like make it sound that all that hard work doesn't mean something when you have a disaster in the garden, or
Mhm.
whatever, because it's heartbreaking when you've spent all this time to raise something from a seed up and then something happens to the crop. But
It really is.
that intensifies to me when you start talking about another life, as far as
Yes.
a animal that you have kept, you know,
Mhm.
in a pen, or even in a pasture, even free ranging,
Yes.
um,
But you've fed it, you've nurtured it,
you've fed it, you've
uh,
nurtured it.
warmed it, you've done all the good things for it, and you've loved on it and named it even. I mean, all of those things. I don't name my plants, although I
No.
probably should start doing that. But I mean, it's and I don't want anybody that's out there that's a plant lover to say, "Yes, it is." I mean, I know it's a living being, it's a
It
living
is.
organism, a living thing, but it's not like an animal. Like like Dale said, when you talk about livestock, you're talking about something that is 100% dependent on you for life support.
And
So, I mean, a
the best way
plant,
that I
you
exactly.
can
The
just let
best way
that
that
go.
the best way I can explain um, livestock to someone who has never produced livestock before or raised livestock is if you're a parent, you're really going to understand this, right? It's like having that infant to toddler stage the whole time.
Mhm.
They're
Yes.
100% dependent on you.
Mhm.
Now, you're going to have those people that'll be, if you just cut the fence and turn it loose, that animal's going to live on its own. Oh, maybe. Then again, maybe the coyotes are going to eat it, or it's going to walk out in the middle of the freeway down a mile from the house, and someone's going to run over it. The same thing like small child. You don't
Mhm.
let them just wander free um, because they're going to get hurt. They're going to get
Yeah,
themselves into
that
things
is
they're not supposed to.
that is such a wonderful analogy because I have a freeway not very far, and I'm sure even though the pigs move slow and they're kind of big, I'm sure it wouldn't take them long to get down there. And
No,
then this time of year, I have heard coyotes. I have heard wild hogs, seen those. Now, I can't even imagine what they would do to one that's been, raised in an environment with, in a pen. I can't, yeah, that scares me too. So that is such a great analogy, Dale.
yeah, well, I hey, it just come to me. I'm not some intellect here. It's just one of those things. Um,
Yeah.
but we're kind of wandering off the subject here, and that, as
Yes.
Ginger knows, because she's talked to me before, I spend a lot of time wandering in the weeds. Just so y'all know.
Yeah.
But so let's get back. Let's try to get a little bit back here on task. So,
Yes.
what started this conversation and what we are here for is this cold weather coming in for this winter. We need to be prepared. And
Mhm.
when you start talking about hogs on the homestead or swine on the homestead, there's certain
Mhm.
things that you have to take in consideration. So, for one, a hog is not really made for cold weather, extremely cold weather, right? They
Yeah.
don't have a whole lot of fur on them, for one. We've
Mm.
domesticated hogs for so many years that we bred most of that out of them. Um,
Mhm.
so we have to make sure that they have warm bedding, a place that is dry and above moisture, right? Um, so for us, we are going to supplement a barn or some type of a shelter, and we are going to provide hay. I don't know, what have you guys done so far for your pigs on your homestead?
Now Dale has 8, isn't it 8 little
Seven,
piglets? 7.
seven.
Okay. Okay, and we have 3.
Domestic terrorist.
He calls them domestic terrorists because they like to tear up. We beep that out. No, I'm kidding. So, we went from a small pen to a larger pen. We have, their water situation has grown in baby steps from a trough to a 50-gallon drum with a nipple on the front. Again, people, it's all from the guru over here. These are his suggestions, and I'm following them, and they're working, and the pigs are thriving. Um, we do have, it's not really a lean to, it's kind of an overhang in a corner. It used to be an old, like, a very large package box, drop box that you could have for
Mhm.
UPS or, the post office. But this one is huge. I mean, it's like half as tall as me. And it might be something that you would like put on the edge of your shed as well. I can't remember what it was called when we bought it. Um, but we had a generator in it,
Mhm.
that we left the doors open,
Oh,
and we had lots of room above. We had lots of room, in the front, and we had popped one of the panels out, which Joey's redone that. So that's in the corner of the pen. Um, we have another little older thing that's almost like, it's called a paw hut. It's inside the pen as well. So they have two little areas that they can go to. And the one thing that always comes back to mind that came from Dale is they can be wet or they can be cold, but they can't be wet and cold. That's a recipe for
that's right.
disaster. So I always try to keep that in mind, especially when we position those different little house type things. They're away from the water. So whether they, once they got on that nipple and the 50-gallon drum is like, and they just let it drip down their chin and it goes all over the ground. And but there
Yeah,
is not nearly as much
refreshing
water
water,
weight.
and of course, oh yeah, no.
And
And
next,
I mean,
next thing you
so
know,
we
there's a big
use a
old
similar
waller.
situation. Well, and there's something to that when it comes to pigs in 90 to 100-degree weather. They have to cool
Yes.
themselves. That
Hmm.
water, yeah, they might make a waller around it, but at least
Yeah.
they're staying cool, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but it also goes so much into, if you don't have a good, clean, flowing source of water, so an almost an unending source of water, then
Hmm.
your gain on that animal, especially on a hog, is going to come to an absolute stop. If you have a hog on your
Yeah.
homestead that does not seem to be growing, and you have provided it enough food, you make sure that its shelter is, warm, dry, cool in the summer, and you have no other answers, it does not have a parasite problem, you better check your water situation.
Yeah.
Because if you're not providing enough cool, clean water, they're not going to grow. So that
Hmm.
really comes into play when we start talking about winter. You've got to figure out what you're going
Hmm.
to do
Yeah.
about a water supply. So that 50
Yeah.
gallon drum, like Ginger's talking about, works so well as long as we're above freezing temperatures. Now,
Mhm.
there's a couple things we can do with that drum when it gets to below zero temp. For one, the drum disappears and you go
Okay.
back to the trough or pan style waterers. You're
Okay.
gonna you're gonna either have to, one, do more watering
Hmm.
more often during the day,
Yeah.
or provide a big enough one, because once it gets so cool, they're not going to go through quite as much as what they did before. Um, that's one solution. The other solution is if there's electricity close,
Hmm.
and off grid, that really throws a wrench in this. You
Yeah, it
can
does.
use a you can use a dog bowl heater. You
Hmm.
you know the drop in dog bowl heater. You can put one
Yes.
of those in there. Now the water will be lukewarm, but it
Yeah.
won't freeze.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing, they actually make a tank heater that plugs into 110 that floats in the top of the water. Um, and you use it for like cattle and horses and stuff like that. You can use one of those. The
Yeah.
only problem is with that barrel, that's all cool. We'll get that water warmed up and that barrel won't freeze. But you've got this stainless steel pig water nipple that sticks out of the side of that barrel. And that
Oh.
stainless steel gets extremely cold and freezes internally in the small passageways. So
Mm.
for us, that's become the standard, is when it gets where we're going to have sustained cold weather below freezing, we're going to just move away from the pig water nipple and go to bucket or trough watering to the
Yeah.
pigs. Now, if you've got a ton of them, of course, that's going to be a ton of work. If
Mm-hmm.
you have 2 or 3, it's not a big chore.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think we got a whole lot more talks. We've already burned through a whole time here, so we may
Yeah.
have to come back and discuss this further.
Yes. I did get hay as well. I mean, I'm
What
sorry, I
other
got
questions?
straw as well.
Straw is a big thing, right? So we put straw
Yes.
out to you're using straw as bedding to help keep them warm,
Yes.
and
Yes. And
you
yeah.
need at
So
least
in that drier areas.
we need a yes. So that is one thing that Ginger, you guys have done very well on your homestead, right? Is you made sure that your area where your pigs are is up in the dry, right?
Yes.
Like you said, with your little shelter. Not only that,
Yes.
it's not in the low area of the pen, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So,
Gotta
what do
keep
you
that in
think
mind.
about? Yeah. What do you think about? Let's repeat this again, come back
Okay.
again, and let's continue on with this talk. And maybe let's get into some of those other animals on the homestead while we're talking about it.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Maybe we can even cover some plant stuff.
Definitely, because we've had a lot of talks about plants in the last
Yes.
couple of days too. So
Yes, yes.
let let's let's meet back up here again. All of you
Okay.
listeners and watchers, come back around. I don't know if we're going to do this a couple times a week or maybe once a week. You'll have to check out both of our channels and
Yes,
just
please
see
do.
when those drop days are. Um,
Yeah.
but definitely, I want to thank you, Ginger, for reaching out to me about this subject and this idea because I think this
Yeah,
is going to help out a bunch of people. If you've got
I
any
do too. I
comments, if you're
very
watching
important.
this on the YouTube side, I do too. If you're watching this
Yeah.
on the YouTube side, leave either one of us a comment with a question or just a comment about it. Let us know what you like for us to talk about because I think we can definitely help not only the two of our homesteads, but also this
Yes.
whole community.
Mhm. I think so too, especially if somebody has something
Most
they can
definitely.
refer back to and go watch and rewatch and, you know, I think it's gonna be helpful for people. I really do. Thank you for inviting
I
me,
do too.
Dale, and for us,
You're
jumping off this cliff and trying this.
all right. So till next time, guys, come back, visit with us. Hey, keep growing your homestead, right?
Yes.
All
Keep
right.
growing your homestead. I like that.
So we'll talk to you guys later. Please come back, give us another listen, and leave us comments and let us know if you have questions or comments about this talk. Let us know what you think.
Yes, absolutely.
Till next time, see you guys later.
All right. Bye, guys.